28th. It's currently 3:59. At this point, I would like for everybody to please stand and pray. Observe a moment of silent prayer. Thank you. I'd like to ask the clerk, she'll please call the roll.
Councilmember Knight.
Here.
Blackwell.
Here.
Joyner.
Here.
Walker.
Here.
Daughtridge.
Here.
Bullock.
Here.
And Miller.
Here.
Okay, we have a quorum. Thank you. This time I'd like to ask if there are any changes, additions, or deletions from the agenda.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes, sir. Councilman Blackwell.
May I add at the end of the agenda a discussion about the manager recruitment process, please?
Sure.
And Mr. Mayor, on item number 15, would like to go into closed session on that because it involves discussion about potential property acquisition.
Okay. So the changes I have to the agenda, we'll call it 15A, which is a comment regarding the manager search. And then we'll call it 15B, which is a closed session for attorney-client privilege for economic development property acquisition. Or is there a second to, do I have a motion to approve this? Motion made by Councilman Joyner. Is there a second? Second made by Councilman Walker. Is need for discussion? Hearing none, I'll ask the city clerk if she'll please call the roll. If you'll vote when your name is called.
Councilmember Knight.
Yes.
Blackwell.
Yes.
Joyner. Yes. Walker.
Yes.
Daughtridge.
Yes.
Bullock.
Yes.
And Miller.
Yes.
Okay, modifications to the agenda have been made and approved. Brings us to item number 4 in our agenda, which is consideration of the minutes of regular scheduled committee meeting of the whole, which was held on March 14th of 2022. It entailed the classification and compensation study, the April retreat, the American Rescue Plan update, and the crime report, and also minutes of the regular scheduled city council meeting, which was held on March 14th of 2022. I'm looking for a motion to approve the minutes and recommendations. Motion made by Councilman Walker, seconded by Councilman Joyner. Is there a need for discussion? Hearing none, I'll ask City Clerk if you'll please call the roll. If you'll vote when your name has been called.
Councilmember Knight.
Yes.
Blackwell.
Yes.
Joyner. Yes. Walker.
Yes.
Daughtridge.
Yes.
Bullock.
Yes.
And Miller.
Yes.
Minutes are approved. This time, I'd like to turn over the meeting to City Manager Peter Varney for a community update.
A few things to comment on, Mr. Mayor. In December of 2020, the city acquired a 55-acre tract on Thomas Betts Parkway at the intersection with Peel Road for economic development purposes. And over the past year, we've been working on a collection of data on that site. It would include an environmental study and some other information. We've assembled information about utility availability, electric, gas, water, sewer, stormwater, proximity to rail, airports, seaports, and so on. And so what we have is I think it's a 1-minute video that shows what could take place on this property. The 55-acre tract is divided into 2 parts. One part is on the south side, the other part is on the north side of Thomas Betts Highway. And what you're seeing there is 200,000 square foot shell building that would be on the north side of Betts Highway, and a 100,000 square foot facility or shell building on the south side, and related parking and so on. That information is all available to developers, and so we're in a position now where we're ready to market that property. That's showing what it could look like or would look like with shell building development on it. It's zoned I-1, which is industrial 1 with light use industrial use, and it was annexed into the city some few months ago. The second thing is The citizens and city council have asked the police department to initiate a speeding enforcement operation, and so they have done that. They are beginning speeding enforcement on major thoroughfares, and that will go on for 30 days. You may see police cars and also those speed signs that are out there to remind people about how fast they're going. And so I just want to forewarn everybody to drive the speed limit to avoid getting stopped by the police department and receiving a ticket. We've been struggling with some of our live stream broadcasts from this place, the city council chamber, as well as the committee room. We've ordered a new computer that should have more capacity, more power to enable us to do that without interruptions. I hope that will be here for the next meeting on April the 11th. We're using a web camera to provide the filming for the live stream feed in here today. In the committee room, we've ordered some recording equipment and speakers in there that are pretty sensitive, pick up all kinds of sound, and we've got 2 high-end video cameras, so we should be able to upgrade our delivery of signal and audio for committee meetings. Sometime back in 2012, we provided Wi-Fi hotspots at the Douglas Block, Sports Complex, City Hall, and the train station, and later extended coverage to the Imperial Center, South Rocky Mount Community Center, Energy Resources Operations Center, and the Business Services Center. And we've been experiencing, I think people know, poor signal quality in all of those areas, so we're planning on budgeting some funding in the coming year budget to allow for an upgrade of the equipment on that service. The city has been named one of 3 finalists for a project submitted in the 2022 North Carolina Department of Transportation MOBI Awards competition. The MOBIs are a statewide competition for transportation projects that include more than one mode, that is considered to be multimodal projects. So what we've submitted for consideration in that is the Carolina Connector project, the truck-to-train, train-to-truck terminal that CSX operates on the northeast side of the city. And so that the winner of that award will be announced at a ceremony on May 4th in Raleigh. So we'll see how we come out with that. The police department is undertaking a citizen survey of police department operations performance, and so it's a 10-minute survey. It's anonymous, confidential. What we're trying to find there is what folks think we can do to improve performance in the department that would help reduce crime, maintain order, and create a safe environment. Fire department has initiated a fire academy that would begin on April the 12th and May the 17th. So anybody who's interested in learning a lot about the fire department and their operations can call the fire department and schedule for that. We haven't, for many, many, many years, have had Easter egg hunts at Sunset Park at the Easter season, and so we're planning on doing that. It's called an egg extravaganza for children up to the age of 12. It takes place 2 to 4 in the afternoon of Saturday, April the 9th, which is a week from this coming Saturday. And so the carousel rides, the train, all of those will be available and available at no cost. And the last thing I'd mention is that just a few minutes ago, we received a proposal from one of the firms that's interested in the executive search for the city manager's position. Just came in a few minutes ago. That concludes what I have.
Thank you, Mr. Varney. Anybody have any questions or comments for Mr. Varney? Okay, hearing none, we'll move on to presentations and recognitions. I have 2 proclamations to read tonight, so what I would propose is that I read them both from the microphone so that folks at home can hear us, and then we'll go down front and we'll take pictures accordingly. So I'm going to start with proclamation proclaiming the month of April as Community Development. Whereas the week of April 11th through 15th of 2022 has been designated as National Community Development Week by the National Community Development Association to celebrate the Community Development Block Grant Program and the Home Investment Partnership Program. And whereas the CDBG program provides annual funding and flexibility to local communities to provide decent, safe, and affordable housing, a suitable living environment, and economic opportunities to low-income persons. And whereas the HOME program provides funding to local communities to create decent, safe, and affordable housing opportunities for low-income persons. And whereas activities such as construction of the Beale Street Square Apartments, Madison Place Apartments, Ravenwood Crossing, Vance Street Homes, and single-family home rehabs have been funded by HOME and CDBG programs. And whereas the CDBG and HOME funding programs have made tremendous contributions to the viability of the housing stock, public services, and the economic vitality of the Rocky Mount community. Now, therefore, I do proclaim April 2022 as Community Development Month in the City of Rocky Mount in support of CDBG and HOME funding programs in cooperation with the Fair Housing Month held April 1 through 30 of 2022. Encourage all citizens to support community development activities throughout the year because vibrant communities provide the foundation for a high quality of life for residents. It's a proclamation by the City of Rocky Mount. Whereas Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, a sisterhood of college-educated women dedicated to public service, was founded January 13, 1913, on the campus of Howard University in Washington, D.C. by 22 courageous women, and 109 years later has over 350,000 initiated members and currently more than 80,000 financial members, and more than 1,000 alumni and collegiate chapters across the world, including 15 international chapters, carry out Delta's mission to aid and support through established programs in local communities throughout the world. And whereas the Rocky Mount Alumni Chapter was chartered on April 4th, 1947 by 21 outstanding women who had the vision and desire to promote the mission of Delta Sigma Theta to the citizens of Rocky Mount and in Edgecombe and Nash counties, and celebrating 75 years, has provided effective and impactful programs directly aligned with the sorority's national 5-point pragmatic thrust: economic development, educational development, international awareness and involvement, physical and mental health, and political awareness and involvement. And whereas signature programs for the Delta Sigma Theta sorority include Miss Jabberwack Scholarship Program, Delta Gyms and Delta Academy programs, domestic violence awareness, May Week, Read In, and academic recognition program. Other areas of community service involvement include the sponsorship of blood drives, candidate forums, financial planning, and economic empowerment workshops. And whereas from 2020 to the present time, the chapter's commitment to sisterhood, scholarship, service, and social action was not deferred by the pandemic, and the Rocky Mount chapter continued without pause to serve our community, sponsoring area-wide drive-through service projects to provide COVID-19 information and giving away over 20,000 N95 masks and more than 300 books to elementary school youth. Through virtual programs, the Jabberwock Scholarship Program raised over $90,000, and a candidates forum was held which attracted more than 2,000 views. In January 2020, the Rocky Mount chapter of Delta Sigma Theta sorority endowed scholarships was provided at Edgecombe Community College. And whereas the Rocky Mount chapter has a membership of 125 diverse, talented, and dedicated college-educated women working together and advocating for the citizens of Rocky Mount and Edgecombe and Nash counties, who are anchored in service, committed to scholarship, sisterhood, service, and social action. Now, therefore, I do proclaim April 4th, 2022 as Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Day in the City of Rocky Mount in recognition of the Rocky Mount chapter's 75th anniversary.
You will do me a favor, step out just a little bit from that, from the podium, by the dais. You might as well just look down. If you will, please, sir, come to this side. And you will come over here right here. Hold it right here. Right here on me, please. And in 3, 2, 1. One more time. 3, 2, 1. There we go. Thank you.
Ladies and red, please. Can't tell who you are.
I'm just sliding it that way so I can not get in my face. Slide just a little. I'm making you the middle. You feel split. There we go. You'll find right to the back. I'm actually going to choose to come up toward the front, and I'm going to need to come up on this side, so we're not going to have any later. Yeah, and if you should stagger just a little bit, so we have one here. If you can, would you mind dropping back right here, so I can, okay. So I can have, would you, ma'am, please come right here, please? Slide in. You can go there, do you mind, no, ma'am, lady got the glasses, do you mind coming about right here for me, please? I'm having you stagger in back and forth so we can fit more of you in the picture and not have this super white shot. So if I can, I'm looking at height, so I'm at, can't have her. She's got to be right there. That's what I need too, don't I? I got you. I can have you move that. Let's hear it, Pat. Okay. I appreciate it. If I can have you step right back in. Let's see here. And if I could, just trying to figure out who I'm going to put where. Try to drop back just about half a step that way so she can come forward. Drop on that way. Eagle and perfect. And then turn kind of toward me. There we go. And you can slide in. There we are. I think that will work. All right. And if we would, everybody on me, please. In 3, 2, 1. And 3, 2, 1. Hold on. Are there any other photos that need to be taken? Let's do that one more time.
I wonder why.
I don't know. 3, 2, 1. Perfect. Thank you. I caught that hand just as it dropped down.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir. Councilman Blackwell?
I was informed, the Deltas are active ladies. They have a meeting scheduled. That's why they're all booking
I
out
tell
right
you
now.
what, that's scheduling.
That's right.
Thank y'all for what you
But they
do, ladies,
changed.
really.
Thank you all.
Okay, that brings us to item number 7, which are petitions to be received from the public. The public petitions portion of the city council meeting is an opportunity for public comment, and the city council appreciates your attendance and thanks you for expressing your views and opinions. The city council appreciates all citizen input. Now, this is an opportunity to raise a question or to present a request to the council. However, in most cases, council members will not respond to public comments, but may refer a matter to the city manager or staff for follow-up. Time will be monitored in order to give everyone an opportunity to speak, and speakers will have 3 minutes. Please be aware that sign-in sheets must be presented to the security officer prior to the opening of the city council meeting. If an organized group is present to speak on a common issue, please designate one person to present the group's comments. If your comments are in regard to an item that is the subject of a public hearing, please wait until that item is introduced to speak. Time will also be monitored. If your comments in regard to an evidentiary hearing, additional time may be granted. The City Council requests that you please adhere to the following guidelines. Complete a sign-in sheet, address comments to the council as a whole and not to individual council members or city staff. Speak from the podium in a civil, non-argumentative, and respectful manner. Personal attacks which have the potential to disrupt the meeting will not be tolerated, and you will be asked to sit down or removed from the meeting. Please keep comments to 3 minutes. This time, I'd like to invite Ms. Adrienne Copeland to the podium.
Hey, all right, I was going to talk about item 11, which is the sale of 206, 210 North Pine Street and 114 South Tillery Street. Now, while I think it's a great idea that you are selling city-owned property, I just kind of wanted to bring to light sort of some, maybe some suggestions I have for this. So, and what I've noticed is in the sale of this property and when all the public notices went out, there's a requirement of having the property available for affordable housing for 10 years. And that's a great thing, it really is. And I know that the city has a commitment for that. But I've also noticed that when I've brought up issues with certain departments about purchasing vacant lots that are just really upside down in value with demolition fees, weed assessments, that sorts of thing. And the response I've gotten is they aren't really willing to get rid of those fees unless, again, you sign some sort of agreement for to make it available for affordable housing. And I just want to shed some light on how that really does restrict any sort of growth. Now, what I would propose is, yeah, if you did want to sell some properties to somebody for $24,000, which isn't really a bad price, I would structure the deal where there's an option of purchasing them outright for $24,000, or if you did want to make them available for affordable housing, once you get that CO and you sign that agreement, then maybe that $24,000 is waived. That's much more of an incentive. So you bring a lot more people in who are investors, because a lot of times the risk, what happens is you get into a house, and a lot of these which have been vacant for 10 years, you really don't know what you're getting into. And so you could come up with lots of more expenses where you're really going to be upside down in value, and you maybe you can't even do the deal at all, and you're out all that money. And another thing to point out is that with these restrictions on buying these properties, what you're saying is that you would rather have these houses sit empty and rot and deteriorate than see any family in them that makes more than 80% of the median area income. And what that says to the rest of the neighborhood is that we're fine with it looking blighted and deteriorated, no matter what that does to your neighborhood. So this is just a negative consequence that was really unintended, but maybe it just takes a little bit of restructuring of how you do these agreements that I really think could be a win-win for the investors, for the city. You get things back on the payrolls, and really also considering that same deal with a lot of the demolition and weed and grass assessments on these vacant lots that the city's taken care of. There's several that I would be interested in purchasing and doing something with, but I'm not going to do it if I have to sign an agreement that tells me what I have to do with my property, when all I want to do is fix it up and make things look great for the neighborhood, for the city, and then you guys aren't paying to mow the lawn and all that kind of stuff anymore. Well, we all aren't. So that's it. Oh, well, since I have time, I did want to point out, I want to say some good things. I have lived in so many cities in this country, and I've never had one city with the nicest employees as the city of Rocky Mount. And every person I meet, I tell them, man, it doesn't matter what department you go to, whether you're paying a bill, whether you're meeting somebody, they're always so friendly and so nice. And I've lived everywhere. I'm telling you, I've lived everywhere. So that's some good things I want to share.
Thank you.
Good job.
I'd like to invite Dr. Kim Koo to the podium.
Good afternoon. My name is Dr. Koo. On March the 24th, the Rocky Mount Telegram had an article titled City's Proposed Compensation Plan Set Aside. The article was based on a report of the paper's interview with the interim city manager, Mr. Varney, as well as remarks made on the March 14th council work session. There is an inaccuracy in the report that I want to bring up. The paper stated, quote, according to the website gov.docs.com, only California presently has a $15 an hour minimum for employers with 26 or more workers, but several states have scheduled minimum wage increases to reach the $15 an hour mark in the coming years. I contacted the representative of the North Carolina Public Service Workers Union, UE Local 150, and posed the questions of wages to him. According to the international representative, the public service workers, especially city workers across North Carolina, who belong to UE 150 all had at least $15 an hour as far back as 3 years ago. Winston-Salem and Chapel Hill city workers were paid $15 an hour minimum for the past 2 years. Charlotte city workers got $18 an hour. Raleigh city workers are paid $17 an hour, while Durham city workers has over $16 an hour currently. All these public service workers are union members under UE Local 150, which has been organizing over many of the major cities in North Carolina. In fact, I was also told that all the state employees, including those that live and work in Rocky Mount, earn $15 an hour minimum wages over 3 years. We are all living under the crushing weight of rising inflation, debts, stagnant wages, and social moral decay, with violence as an answer to every problem. And our tax money is being used to increasingly fund adventuristic wars overseas. I feel that the report in the Rocky Mount Telegram is misleading and somewhat reprehensible. People living under current economic hardship should not be told to wait more years before being paid survivable wages. By that time, given the current rate of inflation and rising cost of living, workers would need at least $25 an hour to be able to survive without having to need side jobs, another part-time job, or even a full-time job. And by the way, the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics reported that the inflation rate in February of 2022 was 7.9%, the highest since January of 1982, energy being the biggest contributor. So even if you give them a 4% increase in cost of living raise, it would barely cover the inflation. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Koo. I'd like to ask Reverend Nehemiah Smith to the podium.
Good afternoon.
Afternoon.
Each day on the morning show at around 8:32, we do something called the Word of the Day. The Word of the Day for today's show was extemporaneous. But after looking at this agenda, I see that the council and the citizens need another word. So your word is okey-doked. Okey-doked with a D, E-D at the end. It's a verb. It means to be bamboozled or tricked, getting somebody to go along with something that often does not serve their own best interest. Ms. Menges has been coming to this council for months talking about the condition of the old Ebony and Ivory building and the progressive deterioration of that property. Nothing has been done nor said that is of substance. But now, according to number 15 on the agenda, it has become a priority, a $500,000 priority. And if you match that grant, $1 million priority. Why would the city purchase a property from a derelict property owner? It seems as though a scheme is afoot. Now, if some political favors need to be paid off, do it on your own dime, not on the taxpayers. Let me give you a hypothetical example. On the one hand, I allow you to bid on properties and give you 18 months to fix up the property, and you say you're going to make it look better. And then on the other hand, you have a property that's derelict that you haven't taken care of, and I'm going to pay you $100,000 for that property, that you haven't taken care of. On one hand, I'm saying you got 18 months to fix up a property over here, but you have a property over here that you have neglected for more than a year. Where do they do that? So you mean that we're going to pay $100,000 for this property over here, then we're going to get another $100,000 to clean the property up? He's had an opportunity to clean that property up. Let him foot the bill. Let him clean the property. Don't pay people for being derelict about taking care of their property. You send everybody else a notice saying clean up your yard, cut your grass. Make him clean the property up. And don't use that money to buy the property from him. He's had enough time to fix it up. When Miss Brenda Cooper is talking to you about what's going on in South Rocky Mount with that warehouse, you have done nothing down there. So why would you go down to Ebony and Ivory, which is continuously deteriorating? He had no designs in fixing the property up. But now all of a sudden he's going to get $100,000 for the property, for you to take the property, and then another $100,000 to tear the stuff down? Come on, stop. Okie doke. Don't do that. You may fool some of the people some of the time. Most of the people most of the time. But me, none of the time.
Thank you. I'd like to invite Ms. Teresa Stokes to the podium.
Good afternoon. I want to say that I was really excited when I was heading into Rocky Mount and I saw this billboard, and it said, "Visit downtown, eat, shop, and enjoy," until I looked to the right and saw the picture that accompanied the billboard. It was nothing appealing about that picture. Now, if you want to entice people to come down to Rocky Mount, I paid more attention to the railroad track than I did to, it was just buildings. We do have buildings downtown, but how can you mention downtown and not mention the beautiful Rocky Mount Event Center? Is that not a part of downtown Rocky Mount? Not to mention, there are businesses that are also downtown. Looking at everyone needs to go by. What is so appealing about that billboard? I don't know who did the marketing, but I know that we can do better. If you want people to go downtown, make the billboard more enticing, because there are reasons to go downtown. Not only the Rocky Mount Event Center, but there are businesses downtown too, and they matter. Now, in some of the material that is recently being released through the city, I've noticed recently it has mentioned that Rocky Mount is a 2-time All-America city. Though that is true, I like to add that those awards were given in 1969 and 1999. Now, since Rocky Mount recently was one of 10 cities in the United States to win the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation Culture of Health Prize Award, I hope that you would consider adding that positive information in your description as well. After all, that award was given to the city of Rocky Mount. Thank you.
Thank you. I'd like to invite Mr. Bronson Williams to the podium.
Once again, good afternoon to everyone on this Monday, March the 28th, a great day for my life. But anyway, I do want to share some concerns with item 15 as well, and hearing that the council is maybe looking into going into closed session for that matter. I was looking there at General Statute 143-318 and looking at the permitted purposes for a closed session and looking at what is proposed on the agenda, unless you're going to change the agenda item. And again, I didn't go to law school, thought about it, but I don't see where that would be a permitted reason as the council to go into closed session for that matter. It would seem as though it would be a public discussion. When you talk about land acquisition, it's talking about looking at a location for the expansion of industries and other businesses, and perhaps if an industry or business is tied to this wetland situation, there may be some water sports or something, I don't know, but maybe it would be a permitted use to go into a closed session. But otherwise, again, I didn't go to law school, so that's a concern that I have about that matter. And also, because of it seeming to be a non-updated comprehensive plan for the city, sometimes when we do things, it seems like they're knee-jerk reactions of things and not an actual plan. So we will see, how does this fit into the 10, 15-year, 5-year plan for the city, so we know how it all works in alignment, so it's not caught by surprise when we look at things. If it's some concern about who the property owners are of these particular things, when it's all said and done, we would know who those individuals are too, up to 5 commercial properties. So again, I really don't understand the suggestion to have a conversation with it being in closed session. Lastly, there's a serious issue also that's going on between the counties, and that is looking at the school demerger, the splitting us at our tracks. We're putting together a community call for a meeting on April the 18th at 6 p.m. in the OSC auditorium to really have some conversation about that situation, going back to the history of it, looking at what are the benefits, what are the cons to that situation. I think every city council person should really be at that meeting, as we all have constituents, which are children as well. And then, of course, the impact it will have on parents. That is a very serious issue. And looking at how funds have not been used accordingly to the general statute, and finding that perhaps Nash County might have been breaking some laws, and maybe some lawsuits to go around and figure out how we can better serve our community as a whole. But thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Williams. I'd like to invite Samuel Battle to the podium.
Good evening.
Good evening.
You dropped the bomb today, brother. That's what I'm talking about. But I know everybody knows Kevin Jones' property. You know, I don't knock him. The property was going down before he even brought it. You know, like Miss Brenna Cooper, I heard a lot last year talking about the roof on South Church Street. Y'all ain't did nothing about that yet. But y'all ran down here on South Church Street trying to give a hand. We got Harlem School over there in La Raleigh. Historical. It's decaying, it's going down and everything. That's one of the black schools in that community. Y'all ain't done nothing about that. You know, y'all just seem to help people who y'all want to help. And I did a video at OIC, Booker T. Washington Gym, and went in there with the kids and everything. It's mold all in the bathrooms. The floor is buffling up. I asked for AC in the gym for 3 years. They still got fans in there. Kids from Sarkin Mount cannot play in that gym because it get too hot. When I talk to Mo Delos, he don't even come over there. It get too hot in that gym. You know, before y'all start sending $500,000, send it there. Send it there. You have 14 kids in there. And they playing in there with mold. Especially, they probably catch staff in there to go in the bathroom. Look at the video. It's on Facebook. You know, it's bad over there. And y'all sending this money somewhere else, and y'all ain't thinking about our kids over here in Edgecombe County? Miss Brenda Cooper, I tipped my hat off to her because she represents Sarkin Mount Gym. She put her foot down if anything go wrong. But we got presidents on Edgecombe County that don't even say nothing about Booker T. Washington Gym. Nothing. Nothing. It's disgusting. The doors are messed up. You got the bleachers in front of the door. That's a fire hazard. Anybody know that? We just do whatever we want to on Edgecombe County. But you go down Sarkin Mount, it's not like that. Oh, when you go to Nash County, it's not like that. But Edgecombe County, it's a little, you do whatever you want to do. It's crazy. It's crazy. And we sit up here, you might not like me, I don't care, but I'm going to keep it 100. I'm going to tell the truth for what it is. Edgecombe County is all I know. It ain't nothing going on over there. In the last couple weeks, you had 3 murders in Ward 3. Not 2, but a person I know got shot in Sarker Mountain. Brother's a good brother, Christian brother. Got shot in the face. He's doing all right. We keep telling y'all about this crime. Keith Stone was at the GOP talking about he got 7 officers that sent everything to federal court.
Thank you, Mr. Battle. Okay, that concludes petitions to be received from the public. That brings us to number 8, which is the consent agenda. I'm looking for a motion to approve the consent agenda and to adopt the ordinance and the resolution. Is there a motion? Motion made by Councilman Joyner. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Blackwell and Knight. Is there a need for discussion? Hearing none, I'll ask the clerk, please call the roll if you will vote when your name is called.
Councilmember Knight,
Yes.
Blackwell,
Yes.
Joyner,
Yes.
Walker,
Yes.
Daughtridge,
Yes.
Bullock, and Miller.
Yes.
Okay, item carries. I'd like to give everybody a moment to look over the dates for item number 9, which is consideration of the 2022-23 budget review work session schedule rather than my reading it out. What I'm looking for is a motion to approve that budget review schedule and then to schedule the sessions as recommended. So if we'll just take maybe 5-10 seconds to look at it, then we can look for that motion.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, Councilman Daughtridge.
move for approval.
Okay. I have a motion for approval. Councilman Daughtridge, is there a second? Second by Councilman Joyner. Is there a need for discussion? Hearing none, I'll ask City Clerk, please call the roll if you will vote when your name is called.
Councilmember Knight,
Yes.
Blackwell,
Yes.
Joyner, Walker,
Yes.
Daughtridge,
Yes.
Bullock,
Yes.
and Miller.
Yes.
Review schedule is approved, and we will schedule as recommended. So item number 10 is consideration of the following housing incentive grant program agreements. Ripple Effects Group, $25,000 for a roof replacement repairs for a duplex unit at 443 Arrington Avenue, a single-family unit at 1210 Cypress Street, and community building at 900 Forest Hill Avenue. B, Peacemakers of Rocky Mount, $25,000 for ownership program assist to 10 residents with debt relief and down payment assistance up to $2,500 per resident. And C, Blend Premier Properties, LLC, $40,000 for the rehab of 2 duplex units at 507, 509 Eastern Avenue and 716 and 718 Pennsylvania Avenue. I'd like a motion to approve the grant agreements and authorize the mayor and city clerk to execute the same on behalf of the city.
So moved.
Motion made by Councilman Walker, second by Councilman Joyner. Is there a need for discussion?
Let me make a couple of corrections if I can.
Yes, that'd be
On the
great.
Peacemakers, I'm sorry, on the Ripple Effects one and the Peacemakers one. On pages 3 and 13 of the Ripple Effects one agreement, there is a table that talks about the funding schedule. In the second payment category, the date should be corrected, so where it says the program year report should be from March 28th, 2022 to April 30th, 2022, not April 31st. And then in the final payment, that period should be from May 1, 2022 to May 31st, 22. And on the Peacemakers agreement, a similar situation. We have the funding schedule table appears on page 3 and 13, and the date should be corrected so that in the second payment category should read for August 1st, 2022 to November 30th, 2022, and in the final payment period should be December 1, 2022 to March 31st, 2023. We're mixing up our 3s and 1s in those tables. So if we could make those corrections.
All right, thank you, Mr. Varney. In light of that new information, I think it would be appropriate to receive a new motion in second.
So moved.
Motion made by Councilman Joyner, so second by Walker. Is there a need for discussion?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, Councilman Daughtridge.
I'm going to vote in favor of this tonight, but I want to make some comments regarding this because I had some questions before I came to the meeting. And one is, I think we as a city council need to relook at this subcommittee because since I've been on the city council, we have not voted for members to be on this subcommittee. I asked the clerk when this was voted, the subcommittee was voted in, and it was voted back in, I think, 2008, September of 8th. And I think that's when the original members, and some of those members are no longer on this city council. So I think we need to relook at that. And then hopefully in our Mayor Pro Tem and our upcoming retreat, we can discuss some of our housing grants, because I really think that we have quite a few housing grants that we can consolidate, and it would be, I think, a good idea, and we can discuss that then. And then I want, Mr. Varney, if you would clarify, because one of my concerns was in the records, it says we shall make available reasonable times and places, and shall provide receipts and thus for these grants, which are listed in the agreements. And the reason I'm voting on this is because of your response, and I think it should be shared with the public. Your response to me, please.
Thank you, Councilman Daltrich. Is there any other comment? Do you care to respond?
Yeah, in each of these agreements, we have a provision that says that, well, it says that when invoices are submitted, the entity has to submit full documentation that verifies the expenses. So we want to see the receipts that actually show that the money was spent and for what purpose it was spent, and in accordance with the terms of the agreement. So we want to see that. In addition to that, we have as a provision in the agreements that says that the entity shall provide information that goes further. So if we have any questions or any concerns or any issues about the submission of the information, that the entity agrees to open their books, open their files completely and fully, so that we can see everything that they have. Because we want to make sure that the documentation they have is fully complete and accurate. And the reason for that is that with these programs, we want to be sure that that we can show anybody who wants to see, particularly auditors, that the funds have been used, has been spent and used in the way that we had intended.
Thank you, Mr. Varney. Is there any additional comments?
Yes.
Councilman Blackwell.
Thank you. Is this customary with all grant programs when we fund initiatives?
I believe we have that clause in all of our other agreements. I know we have them in all the housing incentive agreements, but I think we have that same clause in the, like the urgent repair, the housing repair, matching repair grant programs, and the other programs that we offer.
Okay, so I don't have a problem with doing anything for this grant that we do for any other grant. Do we have any complaints about initiatives that have been funded in the past that we have not met goals or objectives, or funding has not been spent appropriately?
Just 2 weeks ago, maybe 3 weeks ago now, we had gone back to one of the recipients of one of these programs and had asked for further documentation to show, to document the expenditures. And so we did receive all of that information, and it's being audited now, but believe it's complete.
Thank you. So are we receiving widespread complaint about properties being improved in communities that have been neglected for decades? Is there a problem with the residents in those communities being upset about properties that are being developed around them?
Are we receiving complaints about properties that are being developed around properties that need
That
repair?
are part of the council initiative program that we have worked with since 2008?
Not that I'm aware of. If there's a complaint, it's we need more money to do more work.
Thank you. I just want to verify and clear up that suspicions of ill will do not come from the communities in which the work is being completed. The projects are vetted by staff. The council has a right to determine what projects that we would like to fund and see operate in. And when it's submitted to the whole body, regardless of how it gets there, just like this issue that came up on number 15, which none of us had conversation about, we all discuss it, deliberate, and vote our conscience. I don't see a reason to have to change what we're doing when it's working. And some of us live in these communities and know what we're talking about and know the people. Just because some people don't know them, don't live there, and would like to cast widespread suspicion, that's offensive to me. I just want to look at the production and the output. The process, no problem, let's look at it. But the bottom line is, you know, we know people that we work with and live with in our communities and know who is credible and who is not.
Thank you, Councilman. Is there any other comments?
I have a comment, yes.
Councilman Knight?
Yes, and I was there when we initiated the grants to help people in our community. And Ruben, you said it very nicely, but it's not, I mean, I see it as people, or some people have an issue when Black people and people of color start benefiting from grants. And some of these grants have been able to transform properties in these communities that have been sitting idle and dilapidated. All of a sudden now it's all this transparency. Every receipt needs to be accounted for, which I don't have a problem with that. But you can go out and look at the work and see that the work has been done. And so I have a problem with it because the program has been working fine, but it's just a problem about who are receiving the grant monies and where the money is being invested. And so I support it 100%. And if we can vet it, and if they can prove that the work has been done, I would say put more money to it and give out more incentives, grants that we can to help people to help themselves. And so we know what those code words transparency mean. And we know that certain people have issues with it. And so I just wanted to make it known. Until Black folks start getting grant money, I'm gonna say it just how I feel. People got a problem with it, and I'm so sorry. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Knight. Hearing no other comments, we have a motion and a second. I would like to ask the city clerk if she'll please call the roll if you'll vote as your name is called.
Councilmember Knight,
Yes.
Blackwell,
Yes.
Joyner,
Yes.
Walker,
Yes.
Daughtridge,
Yes.
Bullock, and Miller.
Yes.
Motion carries. Item 11 on our agenda is consideration of the sale of city-owned property at 206 and 210 North Pine Street and 114 South Tillery Street, and approval of entering into home purchase agreement with Kevin Jones, who was the high bidder at $24,000. No upset bids were received and requires a receipt of certificate of occupancy within 18 months. Deed contained restrictive covenants requiring houses to be occupied by individuals whose income is not more than 80% of the area median income for at least 10 years, requires note deed of trust, and quarterly reports detailing progress of renovation work. Looking for a motion to adopt the resolution accepting this offer to purchase surplus property pursuant to the terms of the home purchase agreement previously approved, and authorize the mayor and city clerk to execute deeds and such other documentation to convey the property. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Councilman Walker, seconded by Daughtridge and Joyner. Is there a need for discussion? Hearing none, I'll ask the clerk if you'll please call the roll if you'll vote when your name is called.
Councilmember Knight,
Yes.
Blackwell,
Yes.
Joyner, Walker, Daughtridge,
Yes.
Bullock, and Miller.
Yes.
Motion carries. Item 12 is consideration of the Second Amendment to Community Housing Development Organization agreement between the Down East Consortium, which is the city, and the Southeastern North Carolina Community Development Corporation for the construction of 8 single-family homes on the 1900 block of Vance Street for low-income residents in Rocky Mount. Partnership provided for in the 3-year consolidated plan And the amendment increases the CHDO funding in the amount of $12,000 to support water tap fees, which is $1,500 per unit, with a completion date of October 31, 2022. The certificate of occupancy shall be issued by November 30th of 2022, and the units fully leased by December 31 of 2022. I'm looking for a motion to approve the amendment and authorize the mayor and city clerk to execute same on behalf of the city.
So moved.
Motion made by Councilman Blackwell, seconded by Councilman Joyner. Is there a need for discussion? Hearing none, I'll ask City Clerk if you'll please call the roll. If you'll vote as your name is called.
Councilmember Knight,
Yes.
Blackwell,
Yes.
Joyner, Walker,
Yes.
Daughtridge,
Yes.
Bullock,
Yes.
and Miller.
Yes.
Motion carries. Item 13 is consideration of the following bids. Vehicles for the fire department, 2022 Ford F-450 Crew Cab award to Piedmont Truck Center at a total cost of $53,361, and 2021 Ford Expedition XLT award to Performance Ford at a total cost of $44,679.18. And for Tar River Transit, 2021 25-foot light transit vehicle with lift, coach, and equipment metal body award to Interstate Transportation Sales and Service at a total cost of $141,846.62. And 3, Ford Raised Roof Lift Vans award to Idleton Conversion at a total cost of $194,043. And then Battle Park Greenway Renovations award to Weaver's Asphalt Maintenance, Inc. at a total cost of $209,150. We're looking for a motion to award the bids as recommended and to authorize the purchasing division to issue POs and execute bid documents in accordance with the council's award. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion made by Councilperson Miller, second by Councilman Joyner. Is there a need for discussion? Hearing none, I'll ask the clerk, please call the roll. If you'll please vote as your name is called.
Councilmember Knight,
Yes.
Yes.
Joyner, Walker,
Yes.
Daughtridge,
Yes.
Bullock, and Miller.
Yes.
The bid has been awarded. Item 14, are there any appointments to be brought before the board tonight? Hearing none, we'll move on to what we'll call 15A. I believe I'll recognize you, Councilman Blackwell, regarding the
Yes.
search.
Thank you. I was interested to learn in the newspaper about the schedule for the manager's recruitment as it was outlined by Councilman Daughtridge. So I wondered if I had missed a schedule or a memo or a conversation or discussion. And if not, Mr. Daughtridge or Mr. Varney, whoever's leading the search effort, if you would like to enlighten us about what's going, maybe I missed something, so maybe I missed something.
Let me try
Let me
to,
recognize Mr. Varney, and then I'll recognize you, Councilman Daughtridge.
I think I had indicated the schedule in one of these FYI packages.
Okay.
Might have been the last one.
So I missed something. That's what I did.
Well,
That's all you had to say, I missed it. So
Nice way of saying it.
I would like, thank you, that's no problem, I don't mind admitting it. Since I missed it, you said you received something today from a, was it a bid or was it a?
what we had done was issued a request for proposals to 4 firms, the 4 that we had identified. Those are due, I think it's on April 1st, which is Friday, and 1 came in today, just about a half an hour before this meeting began.
You said they're trickling in.
Trickling in.
Okay, all
yes, sir.
right.
Councilman Daughtridge, I'll recognize you.
Yeah, Councilman Blackwell, it was certainly in our packet that was given to us the last meeting, in addition to, if you go to the city Rocky Mount website to the purchasing, and it's got an RFP which lists all the dates in there as well. Right. So that's where I derived the information, and I had a Ward 5 meeting where the newspaper happened to show up, and that's where it was reported from, and I was just updating my constituents on what was going on, in addition to the presentation by the North Carolina DOT on the exit at I-95 and Sunset and the old Carriage Road. The video's up on YouTube if you'd like to view that.
No, I didn't. I saw the summary, and like I said, I missed it. And so I thank you for enlightening me. I normally don't miss things like that, but I missed that one. So thank you so much.
Great. Thank you, gentlemen.
I
Councilman
have a
Knight,
comment.
Councilman Knight?
Yes, I have a comment. Is in reference to something else before we go into closed session. And it's in reference to a comment that was made about the BTW gym.
Okay.
And it was a false propaganda video put out saying that it was the OIC gymnasium, which that is not true. That is the City of Rocky Mount owned property, both the gym and the recreation center. And I would like for Mr. Barney, if he could, speak to the fact that we have been advocating for a total renovation of the BTW Community Center. And a few years ago, we advocated for the South Rocky Mount, and then it's supposed to have been scheduled in the CIP to do a lot of renovation to the Booker T. Washington Recreation Center, which including upgrading the infrastructure in the gym and doing something to the rec room. I always felt that since that was our first community center, that our next project should be to redevelop that Booker T. Washington Community Center, especially with the historic significance of Dr. King, who spoke at the gymnasium. And so I don't know if it's been moved down in the CIP, but this had been discussed year after year, but we could not have done both the South Rocky Mount, which was millions of dollars, and the Booker T. Washington complex. And so I don't know where that is in the CIP, but I know we're coming up to look at our priorities. And Mr. Barney, do you have any recollection of that?
Care to speak to that, Mr. Barney?
Yes, we have talked many times over the years about the needs at the former Booker T. Washington High School property, which includes OIC and Educational Talent Search, and also the city's community center there. And so we do have a retreat that is that's scheduled for April 19th and 20th to talk about a number of things. One of the things that's on the agenda is facilities. The three main facilities, there are a number of facilities, but the three ones that I especially want to talk about and figure out how to finance improvements for are the replacement of the Judicial Center. We have crowded conditions in the police department. We've been in this building 40 years. The building has stayed the same, but the department has changed in a substantial way over those years. And the Booker T. Washington complex, which includes the OIC, Educational Talent Search, and the community center buildings. All of those are, I think, and I've got a list of other buildings, but I'm going to categorize those as top priority to talk about. And I think we're scheduled to talk about those at, unless we change the schedule, 10:30 on April the 19th at the Event Center.
Okay, thank you. Councilman
Thank you.
Jordan.
Yes, on the council initiatives, and I know that our Mayor Pro Tem, Mr. Walker, pretty soon is going to be passing out those forms for council initiatives. I know last year I passed out forms to every city council person to look in your wards and find initiatives that you want to support your ward in. And those initiatives come back. I've been serving on that committee and come back to the committee. We bid those items out with help from the city, and we bring those back to the city council. And every person on this city council get an opportunity to look at your ward and to find out, is there anything in your ward that you need done? And I think that is great for us to do that, because it shows that from a city council that we are conscious of the needs of our community. And I encourage us that not only to look at that, but find more money that we can put in to empower our community to take the lead on their own human and economic development. And so I support that movement, been a part of it, and I think that when that form come out, I encourage all of us as city council persons to look in your ward, talk to your community, and find items that you can work on with your community.
Thank you, Councilman Joyner. Anyone else? Councilman Blackwell?
Yes, sir, thank you. And I do want to appreciate the comments that Councilman Knight just made about Booker T. Washington. I've been advocating for Booker T. Washington since I've been on the city council. Is that correct, Peter? When Steve Raper was city manager, when Charles Penny was city manager, when Rochelle Small-Toney was city manager. And the challenge that the city management always found is where to put the dollars that they had.
Okay.
And when
Okay,
this
then.
council
Thank
or
you.
previous
Have you-
council deliberated about where to put money for parks and recreation, you know, with the recommendation from the city staff and with hearing from the South Rocky Mount community, feeling that nothing had been done in their community for generations, we chose to invest in South Rocky Mount and bring that facility all the way up. At the same time, we had debt service issues with the event center, Rocky Mount Event Center, and we had a certain debt capacity that we had to operate within. And because of debt capacity, we were unable to do widespread renovations to Booker T. Washington. And because OIC was an anchor institution, we, since 1969, when integration occurred, and that's a long history that some folks might not even understand about how OIC came about and its role in collaboration with the city, that our collaboration in St. Augustine's Educational Talent Search saved Booker T. Washington from being torn down. And even as recently as the previous administration, there was a move afoot to tear down Booker T. Washington and say, rebuild it. We can build it cheaper than we can fix it. And that's when we had conversations on this city council for folks who might not have been in the know at that time or cared or were not here in this community at that time, that we anchored that community and we put our own money in there. OIC has put our own money in there, in addition to leverage whatever investment the city of Rocky Mount had. And we've anchored the neighborhood, and that's what our community is called, the neighborhood. So I'm fully advocating, before we make any other dramatic renovations anywhere, that we bring Booker T. Washington High School complex back to full operational standards as it should be for the community that it serves. It's a place of history, significant history, even beyond our Dr. King making that famous speech. I got a call from Bill Harrison's family. They're interested in collaborating, at least remembering the history. And I've challenged them to do more than come take a picture, but let's keep the transformation going. King made a big statement there. And I don't see all of Rocky Mount rallying around that statement, you know, and I'm saying let's move it forward to relevance today. So thank you for the time. I won't go on, but the stuff that we're hearing ain't accurate. I'll put it like that. Can you understand that? It ain't right.
Thank you, Councilman Blackwell. This time I'd like to entertain a motion to go into closed session for attorney-client privilege for economic development for purchase of real estate. Motion made by Councilman Joyner. Is there a second? Second by Councilperson Miller. Need for discussion? Hearing none, I'll ask the clerk, please call the roll if you'll vote when your name is called.
Councilmember Knight,
Yes.
Blackwell,
Yes.
Joyner, Walker,
Yes.
Daughtry,
Yes.
Bullock,
Yes.
and Miller.
Yes.
Okay, we are now in closed session. Producing a letter of intent, identifying projects, in the floodplain that are impactful of housing, and is that it, really? It's really housing being the top priority. All right, housing and dilapidated industrial properties. Is there a motion? Motion made by Councilman Joyner, seconded by Blackwell. Is there a need for discussion? Hearing none, I'll ask City Clerk if you'll please call the roll. If you'll vote when your name is called.
Councilmember Knight,
If we follow those guidelines, yes.
Yes, sir.
Blackwell,
Yes.
Walker.
Yes.
Bullock.
Yes.
And Miller.
Yes.
Motion carries. No other business appearing before the council tonight. I now declare us adjourned.